CBS 46 News presents Public Affairs on Peach.
Unfortunately, in learning and education, 85–90% or higher of everything you learn is brought to you in a linguistic context. You hear it or you read it. And it's not a very exciting way to learn, and it's not a very effective way to learn.
This man right here is turning traditional learning methods on its head because he says learning is easy when you make up crap. Good morning to you. Welcome to Public Affairs on Peach. I'm your host, Adam Murphy. Dr. Richard Giordano is an educator and former high school principal who says most of what we're teaching kids is crap. Did I just say that? Yes, I did. Welcome to the program. So what do you mean by that?
Well, if that were true, that would be a good situation. But what I'm talking about is making up crap, which is silliness, nonsense, things that have no foundation in reality, just goofy, wacky thinking. That's why I call it wacky thinking. And the concept is that by taking these kinds of off-the-wall paradigms and associating them with serious content information, you can learn volumes of information so much easier than just trying to read, repeat, write over periods of time, whatever. So it's making up crap.
I love this. And why is it easier? Because maybe it's more natural than forcing somebody to read something that maybe doesn't work for them. Well,
the reason that it works, Adam, is because it relies upon our God-given physical, emotional, and visual abilities. We take in information through words. We read them or we hear them spoken, but we don't learn and remember that way. The way we learn and remember is through those three, the physical, emotional, and visual. So if you can tap into those and wrap those around what you're trying to learn, you will remember it.
So let's talk about this book here that you have, which we also have here back on our screen. You can see Supercharged Learning. How new is this book? And get into it a little bit for us.
It just came out at the end of November. I'm on a tour around the country now. I'll be in California next month. I've been to D.C., New York, and Chicago. Chicago is where I picked up the cold, by the way, and so that's why I sound like a frog. But it's just come out. It's just starting to get some play, and I'm really excited about it.
And so you go into your techniques here.
That's correct.
And how you just got to make up crap.
Well, there's two parts to the book, Adam. The first part is, and I work with university athletes. I've been at Notre Dame, Indiana, Central Michigan, some other universities. And what I find in working with athletes is virtually all of them, I started working mostly with incoming freshman football, Indiana, Notre Dame. And all of these young people want to be bigger, faster, and stronger in their sports. And what I found through working with them is that one can become bigger, faster, and stronger in academics, bigger quantities learning it faster and holding it more strongly over time by using some of the same psychological principles that they use in sports. So two parts. The first part is talking a lot about how one makes up crap and how it's a system called synergistic thinking that I've devised. And the second part is really, and this is for parents, by the way, the second part shows parents how they can actually help their children learn by showing them how their sports heroes use these principles and how they can use the same principles their sports heroes use in their learning.
You know, I've heard that if you, in learning and remembering, if you use something that you really like, something that's of interest to you, such as sports figures for a child, perhaps, that, a lot of times when you put it into that frame of thinking, you remember that. You remember something you like, right? And so is that the idea here? That
it is, and we used to talk a lot about relevance, making education relevant. So that's what you've just said, essentially, is it makes it, as Garrison Keillor would say, it puts the hay down where the goats can get it. They can grasp it because they already know about it in sports, and kids are very sports-minded, as our whole society is, and so they can apply that. But there's one chapter in the book that, for me, has a great deal of meaning and I think is really important. And it's a chapter that has to do with how black parents can help their children diffuse and eliminate this charge of acting white, which is terribly destructive for young black children trying to achieve. They're criticized by their peers for acting white, as if somehow white people act differently in learning than do black people. And it's just nonsense. The concept is totally fraudulent, but it's very destructive, and it's pervasive throughout the country.
What would you like readers to immediately learn and take away and apply when they read your book?
The one thing that I'd like parents to recognize, there are lots of problems in education. And I've been in it since 1964, when I graduated Michigan State. I was a high school principal for many years. And while high school principals are responsible for some of the problems, particularly in terms of teacher evaluation, as are their superintendent bosses, that's a big problem. But the biggest problem I've seen is the ongoing estrangement of parents from their children's educations.
There you go.
And what I'd like parents to be able to get immediately from this is a really viable and powerful way that at home they can start impacting their children's learning. The changing of a bureaucracy like education today is like the breeding of elephants. It's accompanied by a lot of trumpeting and several years, and sometimes not much is accomplished. And that's why bureaucracies in education are slow to change. And they may want to join committees at school, but that takes too much time. Their kids are liable to be out of school by that time. So this is a way for them to immediately help their kids at home in a really fun way that will bring them closer to their children, and they don't have to know anything about the content material, chemistry, physics, math, science, it doesn't matter. The content is irrelevant. They know their children's backgrounds, their personalities, the people, places, and things of their lives, and that's what they use to help them learn.
Great. Make learning fun. Start at home. That's where it all begins.
That's where it started years ago.
Amen. That's some great information. Dr. Georgiano, thank you so much for being on the program. You can get your book now in a few places, right? Tell me real quick.
Well, any place that you would get a book, Amazon, it's available through the publisher, Rowman and Littlefield, but it's available at all the sites that you would expect.
And your website also?
It's www.makingupcrap.com.
I love it. Thank you for being on the show.
Thank
and
you.
We definitely want to encourage people to check this great book out. Hey, stay with us. When we come back, more ways to make learning fun. The Museum of Design Atlanta is offering up a unique summer camp program that has something for kids of all ages. This is really cool. Come back right after the break for Public Affairs on Peach.